Welcome to Weekend Crafting Adventures with Kim Wojtalewicz. Get ready to learn all about her latest craft project as she reveals experiences with the Cricut cutting machine. Follow along as she discusses her project's successes and fails, shares her inspiration, tips and tricks, and overall satisfaction rating for each project. Now, here's your host, Kim.
Hi, crafties, and welcome to Weekend Crafting Adventures. I'm Kim, and I am your host. This week, I'm going to be sharing with you all about my experience making some custom canvas shoes using the Cricut Maker and heat transfer vinyl. I have actually decided to split this episode up into two parts because what started out being just one project with canvas shoes ended up turning into two projects with 4 pair of canvas shoes. In part 1 of the episode, I'm going to share with you just the piece about the heat transfer vinyl and the project that I did on putting some really cute, fun images on some high top canvas shoes that I found. In part 2 of the episode, I'm going to share with you my experience in doing a shaving cream tie-dye on the canvas shoes and then adding some more heat transfer vinyl. So in thinking about the first project, which was the original project that I did and had planned, I wanted to share with you a little bit about the inspiration behind it. And that inspiration came from actually just doing some errands one afternoon and walking through the shoe aisle in Walmart and finding this really cute pair of white high top canvas shoes on clearance. They were $11 and I saw them and something just sparked inside of me and I thought I could probably do something pretty cute with those with the Cricut machine. So I actually went ahead and tried on one of the shoes right there in the aisle because if I'm going to be wearing the shoes, I want to make sure they're comfortable. And actually, they've got memory foam insoles and they are super comfortable. So I went ahead and bought them and brought them home and decided that I was going to use my favorite hat. I am a hat girl. I am in a hat most of the time that I am not at work. And I decided I was going to use my Yo Colorado. It's called a sunset fader hat. And I just love the colors of this hat. And I thought it's summertime, it's warm. I want to use the colors that are in this hat and kind of the retro style to be the inspiration behind what I put on my canvas high top shoes. So I went into Cricut Design Space and started looking through the different images and different ideas about what I was actually going to put on these shoes. And to be honest, that part of this project took me the longest. I really was going back and forth between a bunch of different designs that I wanted to have on the shoe. I knew that I wanted to have something round that went on the outside of both shoes that was an image of some kind, some outdoorsy image. And then I also wanted to have something going across the long part of the shoe on the outside as well. They were going to be different, but I wanted them to somehow connect in some way. So I just got sucked into that Cricut Design Space image area, looking at lots of different mountains, lots of different scenes. I couldn't decide if I wanted just mountains, if I wanted water, if I wanted it to be nighttime with stars. At one point, I had butterflies on it. I really had a hard time narrowing it down. But what I finally ended up with, which I end up loving, is this retro sunset wave circular image that I was going to make into lots of different colors. I, again, was using the colors of my hat for the inspiration. So I wanted to have the wave at the bottom be kind of like a light blue and then a brown part of the top of the wave, just to kind of represent like earthy, that kind of feel. And then the sunset was going to be a little bit of yellow for the sun and then a deep red and orange for the sunbeams. And that's what I finally decided on for the little round area where I guess I would say if you were thinking about a pair of Converse high top where that logo is, that's where I was going to have the sunset wave image go. And then on the long part across kind of the bottom right above the sole of the shoe, kind of going in like a wave diagonal up towards that sunset image, I decided on something called like a flower wave. So I think it has about four different flowers with just lines that make it into this really cool kind of diagonal wave up to that sunset. I was happy with that. So I used these colors I found on my hat to be the colors that I used for the heat transfer vinyl. And I really love how it came out. After I finally decided on the colors of the vinyl and the actual design I wanted, I went into the process of having Cricut cut out the vinyl, which really was a pretty quick process. The only mistake that I made in this part was that I made the flower wave that I wanted at the bottom, I made it too big. Luckily, when I was doing the project, I took the time after that first cut of vinyl to just cut each part of the project out and line it up on the shoe just to make sure that I liked how it looked. And because I took that step, I realized that flower wave just was way too big. It just wasn't a good proportion to the sunset image. And I really wanted it to be more of an accent at the bottom than a main focal point. So I did have to go back and resize that flower wave. Did not take more than 5 minutes to do that. And because I was dealing with pretty small images, it went pretty fast to recut that, reweed out that piece and set it up again to make sure it was lining up exactly the way that I wanted it to. I did want to mention one of the tools that I used a lot in this project, not just in this part one, but also in part two. When I was thinking about how I wanted the images to be on the shoes, I used this function called the flip function. It's in Cricut Design Space. And what it does is it takes your image and flips it vertically or horizontally. So I could make sure that I had both the setting sun circular image and the flower wave. I flipped them so they were like mirror images of each other. So when you were looking at the outside of the shoe, it looked really nice and it looked seamless. So that is a really cool tool. I hadn't used it too much until I was doing this project where I wanted to make sure that looking from the outside in to each shoe, it looked the same on the outsides of the shoes. Once I had all of that vinyl cut out and I was ready to go, I took just like a bath towel, an old bath towel, and I rolled it up because I knew I was going to need to put something inside of the shoe to give me some stabilization for when I was attaching the heat transfer vinyl to that canvas shoe. And what I realized pretty quickly was a towel was not going to be sturdy enough for me to be pressing down with my mini heat press and to making sure that that vinyl was going to be attached really well. So I just problem solved with what I had right there at my craft table. And I took my wet wipes container that I use when I'm weeding to hold all of the little pieces of vinyl. And I wrapped the towel around that container and put that inside the high top. And that absolutely gave me the stability that I needed. So that's a really fun little tip. Use what you have. It doesn't have to be something fancy. It just has to be something that works for the moment. And that's what worked for me. And I got the stability I needed to be pressing down with that mini heat press onto the vinyl to get that vinyl to make a good attachment to the canvas. I had to do some research on the heat temperature for canvas. And I also did learn, because I use a lot of different kind of heat transfer vinyl, I don't just use one brand. I tend to go onto Amazon and find what is getting the best ratings depending on the project that I'm doing. And so I did want to mention that some heat transfer vinyl does like a cool peel, some does a warm peel. So something that I'm always checking right before I am doing my project is, what kind of peel does this heat transfer vinyl need? One of the slower parts of this piece of the project was actually when I was attaching the retro sunset wave image to the canvas sneakers, because I was using about 5 different colors and I had to attach them one by one to make sure that the image came out the way that it looked on Cricut Design Space and the way I wanted it to look. So it was a little bit of a slower process, but it actually was really kind of fun putting each piece on and watching the design come together as I went. So this was a really fun project. And actually, aside from just having to recut that flower wave that I had originally made too big for the shoe, it was a pretty seamless project. I absolutely love how these high tops have turned out. They are super comfortable. They're super fun. They match my personality. And I'm actually have worn them a few times already, and I'm really looking forward to wearing them to an outdoor concert at Dillon Amphitheater coming up soon, which actually I have another project that I will be sharing with you in my next episode about a really fun and unique craft project that I did for that concert. So I am just going to take a quick break and then get on to talking about part 2 of this canvas shoe project. So even though I really only had planned on making one custom pair of canvas high top shoes, I ended up making 4. And the reason that I ended up making 4 was after I finished my high tops with the fun little heat transfer design on them, my son Matthew asked me if we could get him a pair of white canvas high tops, and that if we could actually do shaving cream and tie-dye the canvas shoes, and then if I could add some black heat transfer vinyl on top of that with his favorite band's logos. So inspiration, when my teenage son asked to do a craft project with me, I am absolutely going to say yes. So I decided I would get some now low top canvas sneakers, one pair for me, one pair for my niece, that I was going to make a pair of these shaving cream tie-dye shoes for. And then Matthew had his white high top canvas shoes. So the first thing I needed to do for this part 2 of the project was to actually figure out what this shaving cream tie-dye process was. So I asked Matthew where he had heard about it, and he had seen some videos on YouTube. So I went and did some research, and it looked pretty cool and it looked really fun. And so we headed out again back to Walmart and picked up I think we picked up actually 8 to 10 cans of Barbasol Original shaving cream. And then we got a tie-dye kit that had like 15 different colors of tie-dye in it, with the little bottles already prepared, gloves, everything like that. I had seen on a YouTube video that I should pick up something called soda ash that was also located right in the tie-dye area. And that was used to prepare the canvas before the tie-dye goes on it, and also to enhance the colors that we were using. So we picked up all of those materials. We got some plastic bins and headed home, because we were going to do the shaving cream tie-dye to the canvas before adding any heat transfer vinyl. There was quite a few steps that we needed to do, but this was really fun. I mean, we spent the afternoon outside and we got our buckets together and put the soda ash in water, followed all those directions. That took about 20 minutes per pair of shoes. So that had to soak, and then we had to let it dry. But once we had them dry, we actually were almost ready to put on the shaving cream and the tie-dye color. One thing I did notice was that after I took my canvas shoes out of the soda ash soak and they dried, there was a couple of little areas of discoloration, almost like a yellowing. I'm not sure if that's because I made the solution too strong or I left the shoes in too long. I just wasn't sure. It didn't happen all over the shoes and it wasn't that noticeable. And my plan was just to really make sure that I covered those particular areas with a little bit more of the colorful, bright tie-dye color that I was looking for. So canvas is dry, and now really important step was to cover all of the rubber sides and the top of the toe, that white rubber sole, with some painter's tape in order to protect it from the tie-dye. And I definitely wanted the shoes that I was making to have a really crisp white line between the tie-dye and then the soles of the shoes. So we taped up our canvas shoes and got our bins full of shaving cream, added the colors that we wanted. We did 3 different colors. Matthew did some like blue, purpley, teal kind of colors together. I wanted just bright red and white on mine. And then for my niece's pair, I wanted to do kind of like a turquoisey teal color. So we mixed up all of that dye. One of the tips that I saw in a YouTube video that I watched about the shaving cream tie-dye process was that when I was filling up these little pre-made tie-dye squeezy bottles that came with our kit, to don't put in the full amount of water. If you really wanted your colors to be bright, use a little bit less water and it would be a little bit more of an intense color. So we did that. and we put the canvas shoes into the shaving cream and dye that we did like a marbly kind of effect with just a spatula, and they looked super cool. We did go ahead and leave on that solution with the shaving cream and the tie-dye for, I don't know, I would say about 20, 30 minutes, and then rinsed it. Every time we did that, so that was the first time we rinsed, we let them dry, the colors completely faded. Not all the way gone, but it wasn't like a bright, crisp color that I was looking for. Matthew was actually really happy with his. He did two layers of the shaving cream and tie-dye with a water rinse after letting it dry for a while. And he left it at that. He was really happy with how that came out. It wasn't like bright in your face. It was more of like a muted kind of marbly tie-dye look. So he stuck with that, but I really wanted to get a crisper marble looking tie-dye color. So back to YouTube I went, did some more research, and found that if we really wanted the bright color, instead of rinsing off with water the tie-dye and shaving cream, when we were done, that really what I needed to do was just scrape it off with like a rubber spatula and let it dry. So that's what I did for the red pair that I was working on and the turquoise pair. And that was a great tip, because after I did that, I really got those bright colors that I was looking for. So next step, we let them dry. And then came what really funny became my favorite part of this project, aside from the fact that I got to spend time with my teenage son doing something really fun and something that we'd never done before. My next favorite part was actually peeling the tape off of the shoes when they were dry. For some reason, this was so satisfying and enjoyable to me. I actually took a video that I'll post of me peeling the tape off, and just that look of that crisp color right by the white of the sole of the shoe was awesome. So that was super fun. Putting the heat transfer vinyl onto these shoes was really straightforward, really easy. I had just finished the other pair of high tops, so I knew kind of what I was doing, and I was just going to be using black heat transfer vinyl. So it was a little bit of a more simple process than what I had done on the original high tops that I worked on. And for Matthews, he just wanted some representation for one of his favorite bands. So that was pretty straightforward. I got that done for him. And then I was thinking about what I wanted to do for my shoes and for my nieces. And I knew, but I wasn't sure exactly. And then I decided that I was going to go ahead and do a Disney shoe for both me and my niece. So in thinking about what I wanted the designs to be on my bright red marble looking tie-dye canvas shoes and my nieces, I decided I was going to go with Disney. We are going on a huge 20 family member Disney trip at the end of July. And I thought it would be super fun to have a really cute, unique pair of canvas tennis shoes with some Disney images put onto my shoes. So I decided on that for mine, and they came out great. I will post pictures. Super excited to get on the airplane. We've never been to Disney as a family. My boys have never been. And so this is, we're all really looking forward to it. But anyway, I've got these really super cute shoes to wear on the airplane and when I'm down there. And I did decide to put Tinkerbell on my nieces because she's a huge Tink fan. And I thought that it would be super cute. So that was what I decided to do for the designs. And overall, this was a really, really fun project. It obviously started out with one thing in mind and ended up somewhere else, but that's okay. That's kind of like what it's all about. It makes it fun and interesting. So let me give you my crafting keepers for this project. The first crafting keeper would be that flip function that I used for all of the shoes, making sure that I had the images the exact same size, but just mirrored so that when I put them on the outsides or the insides of the shoe, whatever I was doing for the design, that they were mirrored and that they looked great. So that flip function is a crafting keeper. I will be using that again. The next one is more of like a tip, and that's that would be the stabilizer that I used inside of the shoe. I happen to have a towel and my wet wipes container on hand, so that is what I used. And I guess more so than that specific tip is use what you have. If you need something and you're in the middle of a project, just find something that you have around the house and use it to make the project work. And yes, the third crafting keeper will be just to keep in mind those peeling temperatures. Because I use a lot of different kinds of heat transfer vinyl, I don't use always the same brand. I really just need to make sure I am checking cold peel, warm peel, and what temperature they want me to be using to attach that vinyl to get the best attachment to whatever project you're doing. And that brings me to my Satiscrafttion rating for this project. And I am definitely going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. This was really fun. It was a fun and functional project. I've got 2 pair of cute shoes to wear around, and my son has another pair of shoes. So that is a part of why I got to craft with my teenage son. We got to do some shaving cream and tie-dye together, and that made this project really enjoyable. It was new. I haven't put heat transfer vinyl onto shoes or canvas until this project. So it was new and I learned a lot, which always makes it super enjoyable for me. And I think that's it. Well, hopefully you will get a chance to try out the shaving cream tie-dye technique on something that you're crafting or doing, because it really was fun. And until our next adventure, take care.
That's all for this episode of Weekend Crafting Adventures. Now go get that Cricut machine off the shelf and get crafty. For more information on this crafting project, interesting tips, tricks, and techniques, visit WCApodcast.com. Until next time, when we embark on another adventure.